In the year 13,000 AD, Ash and other prisoners are chained up and being dragged to their deaths. However, Ash's life hasn't always been like this. In 1992, Ash and his girlfriend work at a grocery store. One day they go on a romantic trip to the mountains and stay in an old cabin. Inside they find a book called Necronomicon Ex Mortis, or Book of the Dead. It's bound in human flesh and inked in blood. The book is extremely old and contains bizarre burial rites, funerary incantations, and demon resurrection passages. Soon the book's power awakens a dangerous demonic force in the woods that breaks through the window and kills Ash's girlfriend. It then attacks Ash and possesses his hand, so he has no choice but to do some cutting and replace the hand with a chainsaw. Unfortunately, the enemy comes back and creates a time vortex that swallows Ash's car. He tries to hold on to the cabin, but soon Ash is pulled in as well. Minutes later, Ash and the car have a very painful landing in the middle of the countryside. Suddenly a group of knights surrounds him and they poke at the car with their swords, making Ash realize he's in the past. The wise man looks at Ash and says he may be the guy mentioned in the Necronomicon. The book says that a man would fall from the heavens and free them from the terrors of some parasitic demons called Deadites. Lord Arthur is skeptical and believes Ash was sent by his enemy Duke Henry, so he shall be executed. The knights rush to capture Ash, and in the struggle the chainsaw falls, so the wise man grabs it. Then Ash is chained up with other prisoners, who are enemy soldiers that were caught during a battle last night. The group is taken to Arthur's castle, where Sheila approaches them to ask about her brother. Arthur tells her that he fought valiantly but he died during the battle. Meanwhile, the crowd is harassing the prisoners, so Sheila decides to join them, shaking Ash and pulling his hair. She thinks he's an enemy soldier, so she insults him and spits on him, promising revenge. Another prisoner points out that Ash isn't part of his team, and Ash discovers this man is Duke Henry himself, but he isn't impressed. Arthur accuses Henry of starting the war, but a furious Henry says that Arthur attacked first and the knights have to hold him back. They both mention a foul corruption that is taking over the land. Then Arthur opens a pit in the ground and the knights throw in one of Henry's soldiers. After a few seconds of silence, the crowd hears the soldier scream and a huge amount of blood bursts out of the pit. Another soldier tries to use the distraction to run away, but Arthur immediately shoots him down with his crossbow. Ash gets scared and tries to explain he isn't part of the enemy army, even asking Henry for help. However, Henry thinks nobody will believe them. Sheila throws a rock at Ash's head and he wobbles near the hole, so the soldiers push him into it. Ash survives the fall because there's water at the bottom and looks around the creepy place, not noticing a hand rising from the water. Suddenly a Deadite appears and starts beating Ash up while the crowd cheers from above. The creature throws Ash down and jumps on him to land an extra hard hit, so Ash uses the chance to bring it down in return. While the men keep fighting, a frustrated Arthur orders his men to activate the spikes. Now there are two spiky walls slowly closing in and Ash throws his opponent against them, but they don't kill it. At that moment the wise man arrives and calls Ash before throwing the chainsaw. Ash perfectly catches it midair and uses it to decapitate the Deadite. Next, Ash tries to climb the wall to escape, but another Deadite comes out of hiding and tries to attack him. When he swings the chainsaw, he cuts his opponent's hand off and it lands on the face of a random man in the crowd. Ash punches the creature to bring it down, then he takes off his belt and ties it around a moving chain that slowly lifts him. The Deadite grabs his ankle, so Ash kicks it to push it off and raises his legs right before the spiky walls crash into each other. While the creature is crushed to death, Ash returns to the surface and punches Arthur in the face. Everyone steps back in fear as Ash asks if anyone else will try to stop him, but there are no volunteers. Then Ash forces the knights to let the prisoners go, and Henry and his men get to run away by stealing some horses. A furious Arthur grabs his sword and challenges Ash to a duel, but Ash gets his shotgun back and breaks Arthur's sword with a single shot. Afterward, Ash shows his weapon to the crowd, calling it a boomstick. He's about to threaten everyone but interrupts himself when he sees a Deadite climbing out of the pit. He opens fire and fails to hit the monster, but at least it makes it fall back into the hole. Everyone is impressed by his skill and now sees him as a hero, so Ash asks for help to go home. Moments later, Ash is enjoying the food and maids in the castle. Sheila apologizes for how she treated him, but Ash isn't interested in hearing her out. At that moment the wise man comes to tell Ash that he did some research and the only spell that can send him back is on the Necronomicon, which they failed to retrieve for the war. Ash gets angry because he doesn't want to wait until they find it. Suddenly a maid drops the bowl of soup and everyone turns around to discover she's transformed into a Deadite. As she starts floating, she announces that her people will feast on human souls and that they'll never find the book. When she falls on the floor, Arthur tries to check on her. Ash stops him because he can tell she's only pretending to be unconscious. The Deadite freaks out and pushes Ash and Arthur off before trying to go after Sheila. However, Ash hits her in the head to push her back. Then a knight tries to attack her with his sword, only for the Deadite to blind him. When another man comes after her with an axe, the Deadite raises a cauldron, but Ash shoots it off her hands. A fight ensues and Ash keeps fighting the Deadite hand to hand while occasionally shooting her with his shotgun. Eventually he lands the killing shot with the gun over his shoulder. Afterward the wise man tells Ash that they need the Necronomicon to stop the Deadites from taking over the world. Ash agrees to go looking for the book and gets help from a blacksmith to build a very cool hand prosthetic. While he's doing the last tinkering, Sheila comes to chat with him, saying that the wise man calls Ash the chosen one and that he'll free the land from the Deadites. Ash says he's only helping to go home, but Sheila stays positive and gives him a gift, saying she'll be praying for him. When Ash is rude to her again, Sheila slaps him and tries to leave. Ash immediately stops her and kisses her. The next morning Ash leaves the castle with the wise man and some knights. Eventually they make it to a specific road that will take Ash to a cemetery where the Necronomicon supposedly awaits. The wise man explains that to retrieve the book from its cradle 3 words must be recited, and Ash learns them before leaving alone. When Ash reaches the forest, his horse starts acting weird. Ash can also hear something dangerous in the woods, so he makes the horse take a different path. The poor animal runs as fast as possible while the strange presence chases after them, bringing down the trees in its way. Unfortunately, Ash accidentally collides with a branch and falls into a hole full of mud and poop while the horse keeps moving ahead. Now Ash has to keep running on foot while the evil being keeps chasing him. Minutes later he finds a windmill, so he rushes to hide inside and closes the door right before he can be caught. The enemy stands pounding on the door over and over, so Ash screams as he uses all his strength to keep the door shut. Luckily the mysterious being eventually gives up and leaves. That night Ash notices something moving in the corner of his eye and discovers a Deadite wearing his face. Ash tries to attack it only to discover it's just a mirror, which instantly breaks. Feeling like a fool, Ash walks away and doesn't see all his reflections on the shards laughing at him. These mini Deadites come out of the mirror shards and pick up a fork to prick Ash's rear, startling him into hitting his head on the ceiling. Then the little Deadites fire the shotgun, but Ash dodges the bullet and throws the fork, which captures a tiny demon against the table leg. The other Deadites push a broom to make Ash slip, so he first hits his head on a pipe and second he burns his face on the stove. After using a tool to detach his face, Ash tries to step on the small Deadite, who puts up a nail to hurt Ash's foot. Ash ends up slipping and falling, hitting his head on the ground when he lands. When Ash finally wakes up, he discovers that the mini Deadites have tied him to the floor. They pinch his nose to force him to open his mouth and one of the Deadites jumps into his throat. A furious Ash easily pulls off the ropes and the Deadites run to hide while he tries to figure out how to throw up. The finger trick isn't working, so instead Ash drinks some boiling water. The screams of the Deadite can be heard in his stomach. Suddenly Ash's shoulder starts itching, so he looks at it, only to discover a creepy eye in his skin. He leaves the windmill in panic as the eye starts growing bigger, becoming an actual person as it slowly brings its whole body out. This body looks exactly like Ash and they start fighting each other using dumb slapstick level violence. After some struggle, the bodies finally split and the new guy introduces himself as Evil Ash. While doing a weird dance, he begins to repeatedly hit Ash, who responds by shooting him in the face. Then Ash drags the body back to the windmill and chains it to a table before turning his chainsaw on. Evil Ash screams as he gets chopped off, but he doesn't die. Next Ash drops all the body parts in a hole in the ground while Evil Ash keeps promising revenge. Ash shuts him up by throwing dirt to cover the hole, marking it with a cross. Afterward Ash retrieves his horse and rides to the cemetery. On top of some ruins, the 3 copies of the Necronomicon await. He opens one at random and finds a void in the pages that starts sucking him in. Trying to pull away is pointless and Ash's whole body ends up falling through it before the book closes on its own. Luckily with a bit more effort Ash manages to climb out of it, although now his face is all deformed and he has to shake his head a few times to make it normal again. Then Ash touches the second book, which quickly bites his hand before flying up to attack. Ash fights with the book for several minutes until he manages to catch it and throw it back on the ruins. It seems the third book is the right one and Ash gets ready to grab it, but he remembers he must say the 3 words. The first 2 come out well, however he can't remember the third one. He thinks it was a slur, so he says it while coughing to cover it up. Thinking he outsmarted the spell, Ash picks up the book and lightning strikes the sky. The ground starts shaking and Ash is shocked to watch all the headstones fly up. In the castle, a few people are struck by lightning and Arthur is telling everyone to hide. The wise man and Sheila worry because something appears to be wrong. Back in the cemetery, Ash tries to run away but the skeletons grab his legs when they emerge from their graves. The bony hands start playing with his face, hitting him a few times but also playing silly pranks. When a hand gets into his mouth, Ash finally snaps and keeps on running with the book. He rides away on his horse, unaware that Evil Ash is climbing out of his grave too. In the castle everyone receives Ash like a hero. The wise man looks at the book and immediately can tell that Ash didn't use the right words. This has caused the army of the dead to wake up. Ash doesn't care because he thinks they can use the same book to fix the issue and asks to be sent home as promised. Arthur says he'll keep his word and the crowd walks away in disappointment. Sheila begs him to help and mentions the special moment they shared, but Ash thinks he doesn't have what it takes and Sheila calls him a coward. Suddenly a flying Deadite appears above the castle, causing everyone to run in panic. The creature quickly captures Sheila and Ash jumps to help her, but the Deadite is already flying away. The knights want to fire their bows, however Arthur stops them to protect Sheila. In the cemetery, Evil Ash is making the skeletons dig the graves to unbury more allies. When the flying creature drops Sheila, Evil Ash immediately grabs her to kiss her against her will. The skeletons also kidnap 2 women for some fun. When the skeleton army is ready to march, Evil Ash introduces them to the new Sheila, who has become a Deadite too. Moments later, a scout informs Arthur that the army of the dead will arrive in 2 days. Everyone starts arguing over what to do, but they're interrupted by a gunshot from Ash, who calls them cowards for wanting to run. Arthur points out that there are only 60 people left because the others have already escaped, so Ash tells him to message Henry for backup. After some hesitation, the crowd decides to support him. The knights retrieve Ash's car and he finds a chemistry book in the dirty trunk. This book allows him to create gunpowder for explosives. He then starts training the remaining few men on how to fight Deadites. 2 nights later, the army of the dead appears near the castle playing instruments made of bones. The skeletons ride ahead as fast as possible and Ash waits until the last second to make the archers shoot their fire arrows. Thanks to the gunpowder, several explosions happen and bring down many enemies. A second division then appears with the intention of ramming the gate, so Ash tells his men to use the catapults. Fireballs fall all over the battlefield, easily destroying even more skeletons. Evil Ash tells them to put themselves together and keep going, so the skeletons use wood to improvise a bridge on the moat and start pushing at the door with a huge tree trunk. While half of the humans rush to the gate to keep it closed, those on the wall throw rocks at the skeletons. Then the skeletons in the back shoot their crossbows and kill a few men on the wall. Eventually the enemy manages to break through the gate and rush into the castle, quickly killing all the men who failed to hold the gate. When they reach the yard, the humans receive them with the special movements Ash taught them and a huge battle ensues. The skeletons' army is much bigger, so the humans won't be able to survive for long. Suddenly Ash appears in his modified car and starts destroying skeletons all over the place by running over them or chopping them with the new attachments. At that moment Sheila appears in the middle of the battle and Ash tries to stop the car. Unfortunately it's out of control, so he jumps out and watches the vehicle catch on fire before crashing. Then Sheila shows her Deadite form and attacks Ash with a lance. He dodges all her blows and kicks her off, causing her to fall into the pit. Then he brings down a few skeletons, but Arthur is surrounded and they're losing hope. Things look bright again when Henry finally arrives with his own soldiers and they join the battle, killing skeletons with great skill. Arthur is knocked out by Evil Ash, who reaches the top of the wall and pushes the ladder off so he can't be followed. Ash grabs a rope and cuts it to make it go up, while the other end is a heavy net with rocks that lands on a skeleton that was about to attack him. Evil Ash sends his guys to attack Ash as he gets closer, but Ash manages to defend himself and bring them all down. Suddenly Sheila jumps on him and Evil Ash uses the distraction to search for the book. Sheila hits Ash a couple of times before he manages to stab her with a lance and throw her over the wall. When Evil Ash is about to grab the book, Ash throws the lance to stab him. Evil Ash just breaks it off before attacking Ash with a sword and a fierce duel ensues. The skeletons try to help their master, so Ash steals a sword and throws one enemy over the wall before fighting the other skeleton and Evil Ash at the same time. After exchanging several blows, Ash stabs his evil self with the sword, but this does nothing. The fight continues and Ash grabs a torch to set Evil Ash on fire, then he kicks him off the castle. In just a few seconds, Evil Ash comes back as a skeleton. Their fight continues and Ash loses his torch when he's disarmed. He punches Evil Ash in the head a few times, only to be thrown over the wall too. At that moment he notices that the torch is heating a fuse on a gunpowder catapult. Evil Ash then lands on the catapult with the book in hand, celebrating his victory. Ash cuts his hand off to make him drop the book before cutting the catapult's rope. This sends Evil Ash flying into the sky with the gunpowder, so the explosion makes him blow up like fireworks. Without their leader, the skeletons immediately run away and the humans celebrate their victory. Sheila wakes up looking human again and reunites with Ash. The human armies grab the swords because they think the war may continue, but Arthur and Henry hug. The next day the wise man teaches Ash the spell he must use to go home. Ash says goodbye to Sheila with a last kiss and rides away. In the present, Ash is back and telling the whole story to a coworker, admitting he didn't recite the words very well. When he tries to flirt with the saleslady, a strong wind makes the electricity fail and a client suddenly transforms into a Deadite. She brings Ash down and gets ready to attack the saleslady, but Ash takes a gun from the store shelves and jumps on a cart before opening fire. The Deadite dodges the bullets and tries to fight him hand to hand, however Ash waits until she jumps to fire again and this time he does kill her. He says that this makes him feel like a king and kisses the saleslady.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you on my next video.